Good evening and welcome back to Kingsport 1851, Episode 8, or, Part 4 of Part 2. However you want to do it. The math here is fluid. I'm Kat, your mistress of ceremonies. We have the full cast of the Tethies returning tonight, finally. Amen. Hallelujah. So let's introduce them. Let's start first with Serafina, my longtime partner in crime, who is playing our captain, Charlotte Goodwin, the Believer.
Hi, I'm Serafina, she, her, playing Charlotte Goodwin, also she, her, captain of the Tethies, and certainly not a person seeking her own death at the hands of an unloving and indifferent god. I spent all of last game raving and insensible in the hold of my own ship, and I'm really just sort of looking forward to seeing what ridiculous things happened while I was gone and what the implications of them are.
Well, to be fair, you may have traded up for a god that actively hates you. So, bonus. Why don't we go next to the first mate of the Tethies, Scott, who's playing James Phyfe, the old sea dog and confident.
I'm Scott, he, him, playing James Phyfe, Mr. James Phyfe, he, him as well, who is first mate and getting increasingly concerned about finishing this voyage safely. However, trying to put on as solid a face as he can for the crew in the wake of the captain's ravings last week. We shall see where that takes us this week.
My guess is nowhere good, but what do I know?
I was thinking.
Yeah. So next, let's go to Forbes Greenwood, played by our old friend Daryl, who is the scholar and the creature.
Yes, hi. My name is Daryl. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm playing Forbes Greenwood, pronouns he, him. And last time, Forbes got himself into a bit of a sticky situation, pun intended, and there was a bit of a tryst with the captain of a rival ship, and it's not a good thing per se, because it was definitely as a way to try to get more information on whatever dark arts they are obviously using to succeed in their ventures. And also I left a lot of fancy embroidery laying around that ship that should hopefully come in handy if I were in any way good at magic, which I am not. So we'll find out.
Well, nobody's great at magic. You're merely less bad at it than other people. And finally, Bethany, who is playing Joe McDougal, our stowaway and lover.
Hi, I'm Bethany. Any pronouns are fine. I am playing Joe, who's currently he, him pronouns. And yeah, he's being followed around by a black albatross. He's trying to get slightly less bad at magic, and also he saw something that he can't tell anyone about. So yeah, Joe's in a great place right now.
To be fair, this frequently happens to your characters. I don't know why. And this is Willow, who's playing the ship's cat. Annoying. All right. Oh, wait. Hey, was I muted there? That's awesome. I'll fix it in post. Oh, you can... Yeah? You gonna bite me? Okay, cool. Willow does not want to make another appearance, so she gets to go to the outtakes. Cool. So I guess the thing to do is wake the captain up, huh? Yeah, you think? Yeah, okay, we can do it. Ow.
I don't know if I've been asleep per se, but yeah, sure.
I guess I meant return to consciousness. Return to lucidity.
Mm-hmm.
And I can lean into the microphone and say, lucid. So cool. I think you wake up to Emily swabbing your face with a wet cloth.
Yeah, what has my my time unconscious been like? Have I been like having visions, or
I don't know. What was it like? You were kind of in the hands of an angry god, but to be fair, that is your comfort zone.
Is my comfort zone. Yeah, I think I startle awake. And like in the process probably tip over anything that she's got like laying around the side of the bed and like immediately ask, where am I? What are you doing here?
Charlotte, you know where you are?
Am I still in the Tethys?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
What are you doing on the Tethys?
Well, I heard you were ill, and as I have some experience treating people in your condition, I thought it would be best if I came to tend to you.
What about your husband? What about the other ship? Didn't they? What's been going on?
Well, Bradford is much better. We had a lovely dinner on board the Jezebel with James. Your first mate is very capable. I think you should know that. And then, well, after dinner, and she gets a kind of weird look on her face. It's like, I guess we didn't feel well, so we all just came home before the fog got too thick. And so, yes, we didn't feel well. I remember not feeling well, so I was definitely chilly. It was very cold. So we came back, and Bradford agreed that I should come and try and tend to you because you were feeling so poorly.
Yes. Right. I guess I haven't been well. Where's my first mate? Could you go get him?
Yes. Charlotte, I think you should know. It's been a few days since you were last conscious.
A few.
Days, yes.
As in how many?
I think 2.
Yes, I definitely need to talk to James.
Of course. All right. So, I guess James, a very frantic Neb, finds you on the quarterdeck and says, "Mrs. Bradford's compliments, sir, and the captain is awake and awaits you in the cabin."
I shall get there forthwith. Thank you. And I'll head straight there.
Yeah. And I'm sitting up and sipping water and sort of holding my head. You come walking in.
Good morning, Captain Goodwin. It is good to see you up.
It's good to be up and among the living. What did I miss?
Well, you seem to have that Miss Bradford's husband had. Seemed to be making, say, statements that didn't seem to line up with what the rest of us could see. So I made sure that you were well taken care of. I made sure that the crew thought that you were just with flu, and we did not have the greatest outings when we came across whales, but we did try our hardest, and just very concerned about you. I'm glad to see you up. I was getting very concerned. It was getting harder and harder to make the crew understand that you were just slightly under the weather.
Well, then I guess I should get myself up and on the deck for them to see me in full fitness.
Yes, there is some chatter about the oddness around our voyage and the lack of direction. So if you could maybe not directly address those, but just provide that direction, it'll I think quiet the chatter greatly, and put to silence anyone who may have thoughts.
So where are we?
we are out of character. I don't know how
Yeah,
many
where are we?
knots we've gone, but
Yeah.
and we have been traveling now with the what was the other ship's name? Gosh darn it!
The Jezebel and the Bradford ship is the Charity.
Charity,
Yep.
yes. So the Charity. So we've been traveling with the Jezebel and the Charity, and we are not far from where we were when you became afflicted. The winds have not been the greatest, but we have continued to move with the currents.
All right. And she sort of like hauls herself out of bed, gets her jacket on, gets all kitted out, and says, "Let's go address the troops then."
Wonderful. You're looking. You look very commanding, which will be
Wow.
appreciated, I believe.
She says, "One would hope so," and like winks at you and then walks towards the deck.
And as she turns and walks away, and Emily goes about whatever, I let out a very relieved.
Didn't like being captain, huh?
Well, didn't like stemming the tide of discontent.
I should mention that we did finally introduce the second and third mates of the Tethys last week.
Oh, good.
Absalom Clements, the second mate, and Zadok Bailey, the third mate.
Oh, nice.
Zadok is a pugnacious little prick, and Absalom is a hoary old New Englander. So, Captain, do you have anything you want to do when you reach the quarterdeck?
I think she sort of goes about her usual routine as if everything is normal, sort of checking on everything, sighting along the horizon, checking in with the various men, seeing where they're at in their duties. And I apologize. It is totally skipped out of my brain. What is our final destination? Like, where's the place we're actually going?
Somewhere in the Pacific.
Somewhere in the Pacific.
So the area that you'll be cruising in ultimately will probably be what was known as the offshore fishing grounds. It was called that because you used to be able to whale up and down the coast of South America, and then all the whales decided that that would be a stupid idea for them to do, so they moved out to the middle of the ocean.
Right.
So between there and the Sea of Japan would be the normal cruising grounds for a ship like this.
Okay.
But you have been given a further mission to go someplace, but unfortunately the two members of Kingsport who knew where to go or had some idea of how to find out are both now dead.
Indisposed.
Yeah, that witch is dead. I know.
Yeah. She so she does her like regular check-ins and everything, and then gets up on the quarterdeck and sort of leans over and calls for everyone's attention. And she says, once everyone is like there and attentive, she says, "I know that my illness came at a bad time. And I know that there has been some curiosity and wondering as to the direction of our ship. I am not sure why such a lack of faith has been displayed in my disposition. We are heading, as always, to the offshore hunting grounds. We should be there within the scheduled time frame that we had when we set out from New England. And I expect every single one of you to stick to your posts, do your duty, and keep this ship running smoothly." And then she just like turns and walks to the other side of the quarterdeck with her glass.
I have a question. Does that
Yeah.
feel like you hit one of your believer moves there?
Oh, might have. Oh yeah, duly wise kitten. Right.
Yeah. Spiritual fire, perhaps? I'm not sure if it quite got there, but
well, we can beef it up a little.
yeah, I mean, if you want to give a direction, yeah. Are you? So it does sound like you were inspiring them.
Yeah. So I think then we'll rewind a little bit and say she goes on a bit farther and says, everyone on this ship understands our duty to those on land and our duty to the creatures of the sea to like hunt and overwhelm the great beasts which help keep our world afloat. It is up to us to tame the waves, to rise above the beasts below us, and to declare in our hunt the mastery of man over nature. So yeah, I mean, like the obvious like move is she's trying to get them to like perform to their absolute utmost in the coming hunts and all of that. Yeah.
Cool. So it sounds like you need to roll plus beauty.
Oh Christ. Well,
or minus beauty, as the case may be.
I mean, yeah. What's great about that is that I rolled a 2. It wasn't a great speech, so
I'm gonna just keep this 6 in my pocket for a second because I think now is the time to find out what's been going on with Forbes Greenwood on board the Jezebel with Captain Dixon. And by find out, I mean just we don't need to know everything.
I think it's actually a breakfast scene. Like, yeah, like already perfectly dressed and everything again, and the indiscretions of the night are no more to be spoken of. But it's the kind of thing where basically Forbes is like taking a cup of tea and locks eyes with the captain over the brim of the cup and finally just kind of speaks outright. So, you seem to have quite a rapport with that creature that I invited to your ship last night.
Well, now Forbes, my dear boy, I have rapport with all sorts of different travelers. I wasn't exactly sure of the identity of the personage that you brought down, but their kind I have an agreement with, yes.
And does that perhaps have anything to do with your wild success upon this sea and on this voyage?
And in their case, inadvertently, yes, because, they don't cause us any trouble.
And how might I be able to guide my captain to making similar arrangements? We seem to be beset by misfortune lately.
Well, have you? I mean, you certainly seem luckier than the charity has been.
Yes, but there are patterns that are emerging, and I would much prefer to break that chain.
Well, it seems to me that whoever your captain is working with seems the wrong word. Your captain needs to get right with her people. I think she has her own people. I would hesitate to muscle in on that act. And of course, our rights may be very different. But surely I don't have to lecture Greenwood on that.
Most certainly not.
Forbes, I can't help but think that you are wasted on board that ship.
I do not know that I agree with you, Captain.
Well, but here we could find you things that would help you.
You see, Captain, I think that you are recommending that I become more proficient in all of this, and I think that you have misunderstood something fundamental about me. That is not what I desire. I do not want to become more proficient. I do not want to become more excellent. I would very much like to slip into mundanity and obscurity.
Oh, but my dear boy, they have their hand upon you. You don't get to just shrug that off anymore. No, my dear boy. You don't just get to walk away from them. They do not give you up easily. You can appease them. You can wheedle them. Sometimes you can even get some benefit out of it. I don't know what we could do in your particular case, but I think we could help you maybe live with it. And there might be compensations you could come to.
That sinks in a bit on Forbes, and he sets the cup down and looks at the captain squarely in the eye and saying, "Well, you have certainly given me much to think about, and your hospitality has been impeccable. But I do believe I should return to my own ship."
Oh, absolutely, my dear boy. I'll bring you over there myself. I'll just call my coxswain and we'll go.
I think I go and try to look over at the Tethys, and I have just this very, very complicated look on my face. What should I do?
So, Captain, just as you're giving that speech, under your lee rose up a boat from the Jezebel with its crew wearing, their immaculate linen shirts and their straw hats with the long ribbons with Jezebel stitched on them, and Captain Dixon in his brocade coat, standing up in the boat with Forbes crouched near him. Like, "Ahoy, Captain! So happy I am to see you out and about again. I trust that your illness has passed."
It has indeed.
"May I come on aboard? I'm returning one of your men."
Feel free.
So he hops up on board the ship and just sees Emily kind of hovering in the back and just says, "Oh, I take it Mrs. Houston was instrumental in your sudden recovery."
Clean living. It'll do wonders for the heart.
Well, Emily Houston, I think, could warm anybody's heart. With her kindness and generosity, of course.
Indeed.
Well, Forbes, do tell the captain how much you enjoyed your little tete-a-tete on board the Jezebel with us.
Yes, the captain was most hospitable, and it was indeed an enchanting evening, if I do say so myself.
She just gives you a very knowing look and then gives a very knowing look to the captain and says, "Well, Forbes could warm the heart of anyone as well."
With his gay wit and repartee, no doubt.
Exactly so.
Well, Captain, what are your plans from here on out? You've had such good hunting with the charity. Perhaps we should try our luck together.
She sits back and she says, "Well, that is an enticing offer. Are you sure that you want to join your fortune with us? The charity has not fared as well as she might."
I think you'll find that the Jezebel is more fortified for certain occasions. And he's trying to lead you towards the windward side of the quarterdeck, which is where captains get to stand.
She very firmly plants herself where she is and makes it clear that she's not moving. And says, "Well, of course you're welcome to try your luck, friend."
So he's forced to lean in and whisper to you, "Captain, You know as well as I do that your luck is only going to become worse and worse unless you get right with them, and get right with them soon.
She, rather than like leaning away or trying to escape, leans in and says, "My friend, you have no idea how right with them I will become. And at what cost I'm willing to pay for that rightness."
You might find it surprising how much of an idea I might conceive.
And because I think she's gone a little bit over the edge of reason, she like pulls back just a little bit and looks him in the face and says, "I am unsure of whether the intensity you are displaying is the intensity of a man who wants to fuck or fight me."
Cruz is young, Captain. There'll be plenty of time for both.
She says, "Indeed, I think there will."
Get a room, you two. So I think we need to check in with Joe, who last we saw was trying to learn magic, but it's now broad daylight, so I'm not sure how that's going. So, where shall we begin with you, Joe?
Okay. Begin with being able to unmute my microphone. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, certainly
I have
Forbes,
no idea.
Forbes is back, so I mean.
Oh yeah, okay, great. I didn't know if you were doing this like simultaneously with the other stuff, or I jumped
We can play around with the cutting a little. Yeah, Forbes is back, and now you can talk to birds. So I mean, that's something you can talk about.
Cool. There's something in common. So is that albatross hanging around? I see it anywhere?
I don't think he's perched on the ship, but every now and then you can see him. He's no longer hanging around the charity, or at least not as much.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I will go talk to Forbes. That makes sense.
Cool. Where do we find you, Forbes?
I think that Forbes has excused himself from whatever was happening between the captains, and is probably like below deck washing up, and like probably scrubbing himself a little too hard. And yeah, so totally doesn't hear you coming up at all.
Yeah. Good to see you made it back.
And he just kind of jumps and whirls around, and his shirt falls open dramatically.
Okay. Yeah.
And then he like crosses the distance between the two of you, and like grabs your hand and says, "Joe, are you okay? What happened last night?"
Yeah, I'm not. There seems to be a lot of disagreement on that. How much do you remember?
All of it. And that's why I'm asking if you're okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. So the two of us are the only people who remember.
That is likely to be what those enchantments did. I'm sure that the others remember probably having a wonderful night and then suddenly getting very tired or sick or something.
Okay. That's... What are they up to over there?
And then like there's a moment, like there's a beat of silence, and then like Forbes like leans in and it's like, "I keep asking if you're okay, and you keep putting whatever's going on with everyone else ahead of that. Just because you
Yeah,
are on the ship doesn't mean you need to sacrifice everything. Are you okay?
yes, I'm fine. Are you?
None the worse for wear.
That's good.
He like lets go of your hand a little bit, and he like turns back to the basin and starts scrubbing again.
The blackbird is following me now.
Well, hopefully it'll prove more useful to you than it did to me. Traitor.
I don't think it's meant to be useful.
Well, it certainly proved that right, didn't it? To answer your other question, the Jezebel is engaging in some sort of enchantments of their own doing to guarantee their luck. Although I think that was a fairly safe assumption to begin with. What I did ask is if such luck could be parlayed for the Tethys, and apparently our misfortune has not to do with any of us, but is solely resting with the relationship the captain has with a certain other being.
Is this certain other being whatever the albatross answers to, or something else?
No, from what I've gleaned, they work independently, but with similar missions.
Oh, good. Now we have two sides.
Oh, I'm sure there are more than just two. These things are never
Right.
easily cut along party lines.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
seems
All
the
right.
captain. It seems the captain has broken from her ravings. Do you find that she is herself, or is she somewhere along the lines of the captain of the charity?
Charity. No, she seems like herself as far as I can tell. She doesn't seem too much herself, at least.
Well, there are some small blessings at least.
Yeah, you noticed that too about captain of the charity, though, huh?
Yes, he
Talking
seemed.
to, I was talking to one of his harpooners, and I think out of character. I think I remember that's who was talking to.
Yeah, Walker Wolf, the first harpooner.
No, someone talking about the captain of the charity. I don't remember who I was.
Oh, that was probably with Chandra.
Chandra. Oh, yes, Chandra. That's right. Yeah. Anyway, this is going to sound a little bit crazy, but no crazier than a lot of other things that we've seen so far. I don't think it's him. I don't think it's not just he's not acting himself. I don't think it is him.
So the captain has left the ship, so to speak.
I think so. Remember the man we tried to save, and he was bitten in half.
And I do. Yes, I do.
They found that same man dead in his cabin on the Charity.
That seems impossible, but as you have said, their captain is not feeling himself. So it's not surprising. But tell me, what of Mrs. Houston? Is she also too much herself?
I I don't know what she's usually like. She seems very concerned about our captain, but other than that, I don't know.
It is her concern for our captain that I find most concerning. I believe I do
hadn't
not
even
mean,
thought of it.
I do not mean to sound conspiratorial against our captain, but I do think that she has a soft spot for the Mrs. Houston, and what better opportunity would there be for someone to lash out against her than under the guise of a friendly flag?
Yeah, you're right. That, as far as we know, she could be responsible for whatever's wrong with her husband. Um, I mean, I'll try to keep an eye on her and see if I see her doing anything suspicious, and um, I'll talk to Neb too. He's has more reason to see her.
You've been speaking with Neb, have you, Joe?
Yeah, I asked him to teach me the meanings of some of these signs carved all over the ship and their uses.
Well, Neb does come from a long line of cunning women, so I think that if there's anything that he might share with you, I would appreciate it finding its way to me as well. He was a bit more cagey when I asked him.
All right, that sounds. I think the more the both of us know, the better.
And how have things been here last night? Is everything safe? Have you noticed anything off?
Aside from the bird, seems normal.
As normal as things get on the Tethys, right?
Almost abnormal then.
Well, that is something to be worried about.
That's just the bird stalker, no problem. I yeah. Now that you mention it, I don't recall a single instance of anyone being thrown overboard, bitten in half. Nobody landing on the deck from the sky. It was a very peaceful night.
Well, now I'm unhappy that I've missed it.
Well, your night seems to have been much less than peaceful.
There were certainly their own. It certainly held its own kinds of trials and tribulations.
Yeah, I know you did that for my sake, and I hope it was enjoyable and not purely a chore.
The color like arises in Forbes's face, and he's unsure of how to respond. There's a part of him that worries that like either response is not going to be that great. So he just kind of turns around and he like starts shaving in the crooked mirror or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's about when Joe realizes like how how there would be no good answer to that, and like I'm gotta be back to my work. It's good to see you back.
And then like he like looks like makes eye contact with you in the mirror and says, "And you too, Joe." And then like goes back to his shaving.
Oh my god. I feel like I want to check in on James and see what he's up to before we round back.
So James is going about the deck, making sure the crew is following the captain's order, having been greatly inspired by her words, and just over trying to listen and overhear the mood on the ship, um, as well as keeping an eye on our two traveling companions, the other two ships, occasionally putting a glass to them and just checking them out. I'm not quite certain that he trusts either of them at this stage.
That seems to be fair. Sure, so let's throw Bill at you. So Bill comes up to give his report of everything. Everything seems to be fine. He lists a couple people who are on sick duty and says, Mr. Phyfe, I trust that I can always speak my mind with you.
You can.
I'm of a mind that perhaps we ought to try our own hunting on our own course.
Leave the others behind.
Well, as a Christian, I would feel like it might be doing some disservice to the poor charity who seems to have fallen upon a string of bad luck, but I don't think that we'll have our own until we're on our own course and sailing our own way.
I definitely would like to be free of the not so good companionship of the not the charity.
The Jezebel.
God damn it! Of the Jezebel, I was left with a foul taste in my mouth. My visit last evening, and I fear that their proximity is not good for us.
On the other hand, perhaps it's good for poor Captain Houston, since all of a sudden he is awoken from his ravings.
And that is a good thing for the charity. We can only hope that the charity's luck turns. Fear not, Bill. I will talk these matters over with the captain as we plan where we go from here. It's a long 2 days for her. She is recovered and seems to be her full self. So it is coming upon time to have those discussions. I thank you for your opinion, though. It is always desired.
So he turns, he's about to step away, and then he stops again and slowly turns again. Mr. Phyfe, I trust that I can always speak my mind to you.
As you know, I allow everyone to speak their mind with me, and what they say stays with me.
I can't help but feeling that the temper of the men felt a slight bit more steady when you were in command, sir. 'Tis nothing against Captain Goodwin. It's just with her illness. Perhaps she's not currently fit for this voyage.
I think it's just been a hard several days. The captain has led us thus far, even through some very trying times. It's not nearly time to have those discussions.
I mean, I agree.
You're always welcome, of course, and I have all the men and women's lives and well-being in my mind at all times, as does the captain, I'm sure. I will. Do you think it would be useful if I tried to inspire the men and women, raise their spirits?
Well, sir, I think they're just confused currently. Too many green men. Hazard of sailing on a whale ship. Yes, I suppose that might be the thing to do, sir. And shall I hesitate to say I have nothing but the greatest admiration of the captain. It's just these voyages, sir. There's naught between us and God except the sky.
Sky and the sea, Bill. Sky and the sea.
Well, Begging your pardon, sir, but I always figure that the sea is what's between us and the other fella.
Between us and something, for sure.
Aye. He gets Bill Walker pensive. Sort of slides away.
Okay, and I'll make a last turn, and as I see some of the men and women of the crew going about their duties, I'll just try to I'll just try to sense their mood, try to get a assessment for who might be more who might be the least happy currently aboard the crew as I go about. So maybe, I don't know, read a situation, see if I can find a malcontents here or there.
Yeah, read a situation sounds like the right thing here.
It's gonna be right. There's my 1. There's my 2 roll from last week.
Yeah.
You motherfucker.
Is that still a 6?
I got a 4, so
Still a 6.
woohoo! Let's burn this ship down.
Oh boy. I'm gonna have to introduce the good ship Jonathan Edwards next, and you'll just all be the sinners in the hands of an angry god. Cool. So as you're starting to slowly make your way around the ship, looking down at everyone, Emily Houston comes into view and says, "Oh, James, it's so wonderful, isn't it, that the captain is well? Yes."
It makes me very happy as well. I'm glad to see her up about. I'm glad to see her spirits rising. Glad that you were here to take care of her. I think that was the last touch needed.
Well, I don't think you'll be shocked to find that we would be very happy, Bradford and I, to have the captain over for dinner tonight on the charity.
I shall pass along the invitation. If the captain is up to it, the captain may indeed enjoy your company for dinner, and if Mr. Bradford's there as well, that would probably be fine.
I do think they'll have so much to talk about. I mean, we must plan our new course, and just everything. It feels like a miracle, James. It truly does.
It does indeed. It does, and I think known company is going to be good for us. I did not like my dinner last night. I would have much preferred to have a meal with Captain Bradford and yourself.
Well, I thought the food was lovely.
The food was very lovely, almost too lovely. The ship hurt my frugal Scottish eyes. I'm fine with beauty, but this is a ship, by God.
Well, she sort of chuckles. Yes, well, Malachi has always been very artistic. So I believe he studied in Paris. He studied at the Beaux-Arts.
Did he indeed?
Well, that's what he says.
Well, that's good. He did seem to be well traveled.
So I think we need to return our cycle or our grand tour around the ship with you, Captain. So, are you still talking to Malachi Dixon? Or have you sent him packing?
I think we spend a little bit more time talking, but I think I've sent him back to his ship.
Excellent. So I am curious about your thoughts about you were given a timeout by the Elder Ones. Have you thought about your behavior and what you're going to do in the future?
That's the very essence of like, if you don't behave well, I'm going to take that away from you. And it is like my conscious brain.
Well, I mean, you're barely using it as far as they're concerned.
Yeah. So, can we have a flashback scene? Because I want to flesh out a little bit of what happened while I was unconscious and like find out if I received any specific instructions to carry out. Because I want some clarity. Like, I feel like I don't exactly know what her next step is. So can we do that?
Sure.
And if you want, I can like roll to sense what's beyond or something like that to like start us off.
That seems to be a good place to go.
Okay, great. I rolled a 10. Sense what's beyond is plus beyond, so it's just a straight 10.
Cool. Now, I'm supposed to give you clarity, but that doesn't.
This is the first time that I've done well with a sense beyond roll.
That was a 10, right?
Yeah. I've always been getting 7 and 9 or misses. So I get visions and truths.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they don't. Yeah, but that doesn't mean they can't be, terrifying.
Upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what you probably haven't told Emily or anyone is how in your dreams, while you were tossing and turning and ranting in your bunk, you had many an interesting and long conversation with Bradford Houston.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Cool.
I think you guys were sitting in a dream space that looked much like the Great Cabin of the Charity, but it's like, that dream space, so sometimes things are just missing and sometimes things are just there.
Yeah.
And
so we're talking in one moment, everything's there. The next moment we're like floating in midair at a table, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
So you guys are talking for a long time about stuff that you probably no longer consciously remember, but at one point he just turns to you and says, and just who do you think you're talking to when you talk to me?
And she says, I learned a long time ago not to believe the things that my eyes tell me. So you are either you or not you. You could be God. You could be something else. You could be me.
Some part of me is Bradford Houston.
And what's the rest of you?
Something more.
And she like leans forward and like the dream version of herself, like the necklace with like her like crescent moon falls out from her like around her neck and is like humming slightly. And she says, something more. How?
Isn't that the only thing you've ever craved? Was something more? You're asking, am I more what? Am I your God? Which God? The Unitarian God or something out of your rock-ribbed Calvinist ancestry? You Goodwins were not always so, well, I suppose you were always about as pure as you are now, but of course, there was a time your family paid homage to other beings.
My question is, are you one of those?
And do you really feel qualified to differentiate between them?
What do I know of divinity?
Exactly. Well,
What
Captain Good,
matters is that I'm talking to a god.
are you? Is there not a little spark of divinity in us all? Is that not what your church preaches?
Oh, friend, what church do you think I belong to?
We can't escape the air around us. Some deep wounded part of you is still caught up in dreams of predestination and the thunderings of John Calvin. You can't escape it. You want to know if you are one of the favored and destined of whatever you decide to call divine. Is that not so? Is that... Well, put you in a Geneva collar and start talking about the elect. I don't think you even have pondered what your destiny will be, have you? You just think that you're just assuring yourself that you have one, but you've given no thought to what it might be.
Doesn't matter what it is.
Oh, when you say it doesn't matter, then it generally ends up mattering quite a bit.
What matters is that I've been chosen for something. And I've always known it.
Well,
and I will do whatever will lead me to that destiny.
well, you say whatever. Everyone says whatever. They always say that, but then there's always a scruple or two. Wow.
She like very quickly leans across the table and grabs him by both his hands and says, "If you are telling me that you are divine and you are offering me my destiny here and now, watch my scruples melt."
I believe you were given a sign. Will you progress on that road?
Of course.
Well then, go thou about thy work, going to and from upon the earth.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's what she's thinking about on the quarterdeck.
That's not creepy at all. Not even a little bit, right? I mean, you know, that's
Fine.
cool. This
It's already fine. Nobody has to die. Lots of people have to die.
This is cool. So before we go on break, why doesn't everybody give me one sign that their character notices as the sun begins to sink into the waves once again, and the CGI techs work to get their golden hour filters running before the captain rows over to the charity and has a little tete-a-tete with Mr. Houston. Why don't we limit the choice to ominous, ecstatic, or awful, in whatever sense you want to use that word.
I think that as I row over to the charity, I have never felt more strong or sure. Take that as you will.
As we're rowing over and the sun begins to set, I note the stars that are starting to appear, and the casually the position of the moon, which oddly tonight is a new moon, although it should actually be a full moon.
Just after the sun sets for a couple minutes, the Jezebel appears this strange dark red color, like the whole thing all the same color, the sails, the everything.
And as one were to walk along the deck, and if they ran their hands over the banister to keep them from going overboard, in one particular spot, they suddenly, where there wasn't before, there are these deep claw-like gouges that stretch for many, many feet that were not there before.
You guys are good. All right. Claw-like gouges. Cool. All right. Why don't we take our break, and then we'll come back in 5-ish or so-ish and we'll get this finale burning. I'll see you all shortly. Okay. Guess we're gonna take the plunge, huh? So, question, Captain. It seems that James is with you on board the boat. Have you brought Forbes and Joe as your boat crew?
Sure.
I mean, it's up to you guys. Or we could just, keep doing the split screen thing. I'm just curious.
I assume that even if we didn't come with, we'd probably be sneaking onto that ship anyway, so.
That seems fair. All right. So cool. All right. So you row over to the Charity, which looms up, not at all ominously, purple and black in the hazy setting sun. And soon you're aboard, and Emily is very happy to see both you and James. Like, oh, Captain, I'm so happy that you're able to come to the Charity again. I'm so happy that you're here, and you too, James. I don't know how I would have pulled through without your help when poor Bradford was sick.
Yes, it's good to be here.
Thank you. Don't discount your own strength. I think you would have done fine. It's good to feel that we assisted in some way. However,
And at that point, Captain Houston comes hobbling out onto the quarterdeck. It's like, well, Captain Goodwin, I'm very happy to see you up and about.
It's nice to be up and about.
I don't know what sort of brain fever that's going around that only affects the command officers, but I suppose we've both weathered it as well as possible.
I believe we did.
It's been a strange journey so far, I have to say.
It truly has. But hopefully from now on, it'll be better.
Well, let's hope that our luck doesn't concentrate in one area anymore. But here I am being all melancholy when this should be a happy occasion. Why? Emily insisted that we bring up some of that French wine we bought a few years ago when we took a tour of Europe. So I'm afraid you're going to be feeded to wine that is far, far better than any food we'll have to offer you. But I trust you'll forgive the poor accompaniment for an excellent vintage.
I'm sure that we'll be able to find a way to forgive you for that. No problem.
Cool. So Joe, your friend Chandra shows up. Ah, Joe, how are you?
Am I okay? Sorry, my computer is running very slow, and so the response of the mute is not good. Yeah, how are you? Quite well. How's it been around here?
You seem somewhat depressed, my friend.
No, I'm fine.
I'd say there's a haunted look in your eyes, but it's usually there, so I suppose there's nothing objectionable about it this time.
Perhaps after visiting the Jezebel and then comparing their obvious luck to your ship and our ship, I've just been wondering, what could cause such a difference in fortune.
He nods and says, Joe, would you climb up with me into the foretop? It'll be easier to
Of
talk there.
course.
It's totally not a sexual entendre. What's wrong with you people?
Sure.
So let's just quick cut over to Forbes. So what's with you on board this fine ship, the Charity?
Where would I be allowed to go? Because I was not greeted by the captain or his wife. So
No. Though I mean, you have proven yourself to be a gentleman and a scholar. So I don't know. Maybe James spoke up for you. But I think the only way you'd get invited would be if James spoke up for you. So did you speak up for Forbes, James?
Of course. He's a valuable member of the crew. Why, just recently he's been learning to be a sailmaker. And he helps us with our bird life.
Does he now? Strange how that just came to mind, huh?
yes, I'm very knowledgeable on a wide variety of topics.
Well, Emily isn't suitably impressed. And well, then, I'm sure Bradford wouldn't mind. Captain Goodwin, you wouldn't mind if we... I know it's not exactly strictly protocol, but...
Not at all.
It's just we have so few a chance to speak to an educated gentleman. I mean, I was in the Lyceum when we were in Kingsport, but it's not a very good Lyceum. I'm sorry to say, I know it's your hometown, but it's not a very good Lyceum.
No offense taken.
All right, so down to the great cabin you go, and Forbes, your delicate palate can attest that the wine is quite excellent.
And I speak very highly of it and say many flattering things.
In French, no doubt.
Of course.
Mairie. Excellent. Cool. Do you tell any kind of metaphorical stories or anything?
I mean, I'm definitely playing the room and getting into, folklore kind of stuff. And I'm basically along the lines of, yes, there are many tales of the various creatures that can beset a ship, and I'm learning so much more about them so close up with all of you who have, some might even say, first-person experience, if I'm to believe what the crew has told me.
Of course, there's a nervous chuckle from around the room. This definitely feels like a move, but what I'm trying to figure out is if you're reading someone's thoughts or if you're reading the situation.
I think it's the situation.
I invite you to roll.
Okay, so that's plus brain, which I have a +2 in, so...
And that is not historically meant anything.
No, it has not. But it made it a 9, which, is fine. It's fine. So on a 7 to 9, I can ask 2. Who or what in this situation is currently most vulnerable to me?
To you?
Yes.
In what way?
To exploit and further the captain's goals.
Well, that's ironic because it's the captain.
Well.
Well, single-minded monomania. She's very susceptible to being told. You get that sense that she is she's rapidly approaching the state of being a, cocked crossbow, and it might be easy enough to figure out what target you'd like to point her at.
Okay.
With your permission, Captain.
And then, who or what in the room is my biggest threat?
Threat to what?
To my continued safety aboard this ship. Or, well, not this ship, but aboard the Tethys. And I feel like the answer is also the captain.
Well, How capable are you of self-reflection, Forbes?
I mean, he's obviously also got a one-track mind and is pretty cocked and loaded himself. So I'm going to say that's probably not his great strong point.
In that case, it's Emily.
Of course.
Because her simple goodness will get in the way of your attempts to manipulate the situation to your advantage. I mean, bring the situation out to the natural advantage that would normally occur.
The most lawyerly way of saying that.
I mean, I'm not saying that a Greenwood would be a manipulative bastard or anything. That's your
No one would ever say such a thing about a Greenwood.
No. Your people are well known for their charity and good works.
Yep. Cool. So yeah.
Excellent. So, what about you, Cap? What's up with you in this charged little dinner party?
So here's my plan.
Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah. My plan is to burn this ship to the very last piece of wood and kill everybody aboard. But my bonus plan is that we will all be off the ship when that happens.
I get it. Yeah.
Right? So
you're supposed to perform a sacrifice, not be the sacrifice.
Right, exactly. So what I'm thinking is they have a ton of whale oil on this ship.
Yes, they do.
And so my plan is to get everyone on the ship insensible in some way. Basically make it so that there's a giant party, so no one's paying attention to me, while I sneak around and set fuses, burn the ship to the ground. So I'm not sure how we roll that, but
yeah, well, I don't think it's just a roll.
No, it's a couple of different ones, right? Like, I feel like it's read a situation and then proceeding from there.
Well, let me check in with James first, and then we'll figure this out. So, James, what's your plan here? Or what are you doing? I mean, are you just having wine with Emily and listening to her charming tales?
I'm watching the captains closely for any signs that they may still be afflicted, while trying not to look like I'm concerned. Yes, I'm trying to be as entertaining as a Scotsman can be. Now that she's offered me lots of alcohol, which may make the first part of my plan a little more difficult.
When do you start singing?
Yeah.
Is it before or after they break out the second bottle?
Yeah, probably during the first a little bit.
Excellent. Okay. So, Chandra and Joe climb up into the foretop. So, in case you don't know, on each mast, where the first yardarm crosses the mast, that's an area called the top, and it's usually got some kind of little platform that people can stand on. So it's a common place to go and sit. Joe, are you enough of a sailor that you can climb up there on the ropes, or?
I can. It's probably obvious that I'm not super comfortable with it, but I can do it, I think.
Right. Because what real sailors like to do is to climb the rat lines that are on the side of the mat. Those the ropes that come down that have the little cross ropes in them. Everyone else climbs the little ladder that goes up through what's called the lubber's hole, because you're a landlubber if you use it. But all right, so cool. You inch your way up, and Chandra just sort of races ahead of you and waits until you get up. You had to watch. He would be looking at it.
Not sure which would be more embarrassing, taking the ladder or doing this, but
it's like, oh, Joe. I had the most interesting talk with a friend of yours.
Friend of mine.
Young Mr. Neb.
Oh, okay.
Who did you think I meant? Do you have other friends? I mean, there's me and Neb and Forbes, I guess. But
I had thought you would have met Forbes since you've seen him on the Jezebel. There we go.
I think what you want is something Forbes already possesses, and therefore talking to him about you would be a waste of air. Young Neb told me that you have some interest in otherworldly power.
Interest is if something is working against both of our ships, I'd like to know anything I can about it and about ways that we could combat it.
Joe, the most important thing a magician must know is their own intent. So if your intent is muddled or unclear or distracted or not what you think it is, then your magic will go awry. So if your intent is clear, if it's just to protect people, then are you sure you know which people you want to protect? Some may need less protection than others.
That is my intent.
And what would you learn, Joe?
Anything I can. I'm not. I have no prejudice about any particular tradition.
But what would you like to be able to do? That's the second part of a magician.
I would like to be able to fend off curses and such things from my ship and from others. I know that there are a lot of different powers out there, and what keeps a person safe from one might make one more susceptible to others.
Well, Joe, I have good news for you. Well, I have news for you. It may not be that good for you. What you ask is one of the simpler things that you could accomplish because it only requires your will. You said there's two parts to being a magician. The first is your intent. The second is your will. If your intent and will are clear and the power is in you, then you can protect people.
The power is the part I'm most concerned about.
Well, that is the thing, isn't it, Joe? How do you wish to get this power? Have you ever shown any magical ability, do you think?
Not that I know of.
Well, in that case, you'll need to acquire it.
How should I do that?
There are many ways. Traditionally, when a makes a pact with some being, and they'll grant the power. There are other ways, but they tend to take a long time.
From what I've heard, there are many beings that. How do I know which one I should make a pact with?
Well, you should know that none of them are really very trustworthy.
Like people, then.
Yes. I mean, among your people, traditionally, it was the one they usually called the black man. But there are other traditions. You seem like the kind of person who would find much wisdom from Shiv.
All right, then.
Well, I mean, it's not all that easy, but I mean, it's not like I carry around a portable lignum or anything. But let me think on what you will have to do. But I feel like it should be done soon. And can you not feel that in the air now?
Yeah, that's why. That's why the sudden interest. It's not all that sudden, but things seem to be coming to a point where well, to be honest, I should have done this a long time ago, and then I might be able to use it now. But
Yes. When the last edge of the sun sinks beneath the water, wait for me on the forecastle, and we shall talk to the birds of the air.
another one attacks the birds.
Wait, you don't
That's
talk to birds? I mean, I'll look.
They don't usually talk back.
Well, it depends on the bird. I mean,
It does. Yes, I've learned that recently. Yeah, I'll meet you there.
excellent. All right, so I think we need to go back to the cabin. So I think we're at the breaking down into brandy and cigars phase of the meal. Bradford is sitting next to you, Captain. On your left is Emily. Across from her is James, and Forbes is in the middle with the remaining mates of the charity. And yeah, Bradford just looks kind of a little distracted. He's just sort of toying with his cigar and staring into his brandy.
At this point, in the meal, I lean forward and I say, Bradford, you look far too melancholy for an evening such as this one. I have brought you a present.
Well, Charlotte, have you?
She leans back and she has like a bag next to her, flips it open and pulls out a bottle of good Irish whiskey and says, I know this is the time when we drink brandy, but I think that this is something you will appreciate.
Well, I mean, I'd have preferred a little Scotch, but Irish is that makes a tolerable beverage. What's the occasion?
Our friendship, the success of our journey, God.
Well, now, maybe you go to different churches than I do, but we don't often toast the Almighty with a good glass of whatever this is.
It is delicious and potent whiskey. And for those like me who trace ourselves back to the lineage of the Irish, we believe that God is a thing to be celebrated in all forms. We can toast to God in a pub with good beer. We can toast to God on a ship with good port or whiskey.
Well, I'm not sure I can share your enthusiasm for God. I feel like he and I have been on the outs ever since I was a young'un. But I suppose that's blasphemous talk, ain't it?
She leans forward and fills both of their glasses and says, "My friend, may we both," as she lifts her glass, "find our way closer to the Almighty."
Only if you don't mind me going on up ahead, since I think I've got more to talk to.
I don't mind at all you going first. And she clinks their glasses together.
James?
Yes.
Does the captain give you whiskey too? I'm curious now. Or do you just ask her to give you some because, you know?
I think I give you some.
I'll,
Everybody at the table gets.
I'll politely pretend to enjoy this, not scotch. Why, this is a very fine gift that you've brought, Captain Bradford. What is this talk of the Almighty I hear?
Well, your captain seems seized by religious fervor, at least the kind that comes in a bottle, Mr. Phyfe.
Well, it's a good church to worship at, in my experience. It's a God who never lets you down.
Is there such a God, Mr. Phyfe? I mean, if you'll forgive me for saying it, I imagine you belong to the Scottish Kirk.
Well, I was raised to believe that only we can let down God. Spent enough time at the sea to know that God isn't looking out for everyone.
Yeah, I think that does follow. I'm not really sure who he's looking out for. Bible says sparrows and such, so perhaps them.
Some would say yourself, your recovery could be proof of that, depending on perspective.
Well, I mean, you'd qualify it as miraculous in some way, eh?
'Twas a miracle, miracle from some source.
Well, it seems to me that the devil can do miracles too, or at least the appearance of them, so as to fool the unwary. Or so they told me. I never was much for my catechism.
Do you feel that the devil has restored your health? And if so, he must have a reason for that.
Well, now, I'm no scholar in these things. Mr. Forbes, what's your opinion on the ability of the devil to restore man to health?
Well, in the way of these things, the devil can give you whatever you want. Is kind of his shtick, as it were. He promises you absolutely everything you could dream of, and then just as you think you've gotten everything, he yanks it all away.
I knew someone like that, but he was merely the port agent in London.
The devil wears many faces.
Does he now? Could he be wearing the face of someone in this room?
I mean, I would like to think that we are all God-fearing men here, and ladies, of course.
Well, I fear many things, and I suppose God could be one of them.
He quietly sips his whiskey. Oh, did I get whiskey, or am I just having a small sniffer of brandy?
You get whiskey. Everybody gets whiskey.
Everyone gets whiskey.
I I lean forward and say, I've always found the idea of fearing God, of being God-fearing, fascinating. And she like leans over her cup and says, why should we fear God if we are in service?
Well, Captain Goodwin, says Emily. I mean, what? I don't think it's fear as in terror, but fear in the sense of awe at the earth-shaking power of the Almighty. Maybe the word is not quite right, but the emotion is similar, I think.
But Mrs. Houston, were you not afeared when your husband was taken ill? Were you not stricken with terror that he might pass?
Well, but God was not taking my husband away. My husband was ill. God might have taken him home, but that was up to the Almighty and our faith. I'm sure faith has much to do with the recovery of our two captains.
Yes, I'm sure the Lord smiled upon the faith that you had, that your husband would recover, your fierce dedication to him, your deep and everlasting love. I'm sure that the Lord saw it and saw it was good. And that is why your husband has recovered.
That's very lovely, Mr. Greenwood. I'm not sure that's quite scripture, but it's lovely.
The Lord does work in mysterious ways, and devotion does not go unnoticed.
Well, I don't know about that. There's many a woman I've known who's been very devoted to various causes and men in their life, and they were unnoticed a lot, I have to say.
I look across the table at her and say, well, your devotion certainly doesn't go unnoticed.
Roll plus hot, please. Oh, man. Monster Arts is breaking out again. I think she blushes and goes, "Oh, well, you're far too kind, Captain. But I'm sure it's because you have the most unusual position of your career and station. It makes you more able to notice what's in front of you."
I never fail to miss something when it's directly under my eyes.
Just putting it out there. Cool. So Bradford stands up and says, "Well, I think this party would benefit from a little more air. Charlotte, would you not mind bringing the bottle? I trust that's not the only one you brought."
Of course not.
Well, it goes down smooth, but where it shall go, I fear to find out.
And she sort of merrily wraps one arm around his shoulder with like the bag hanging off of her other shoulder and says, my friend, there is nothing to fear but, well, death mostly. And then like laughs and walks out of the room with him.
Yeah, I think he stands for a second and just says, "I'm not afraid of death." So, Joe, it's sunset, and you're standing on the forecastle with a couple of Chandra's friends. Most of them are probably Indian, but some aren't, and they're just sort of paused and waiting. And Chandra just looks at you and says, "It's good to stare and watch the sunset anyway, I think."
It is. It's a nice way to mark the end of the day.
I've always found sunsets, well, I was going to say sad, but I think it's just when you're sad, you like sunsets. Do you find that true, Joe?
I think you're right.
Well, have you often needed to watch a sunset, Joe?
I suppose at some times in my life, yes. At others, I forget that sunsets exist. But I come from a very rainy country, so I often can't see them anyway.
I come from a rainy place too, but it's only rainy part of the year. Well,
Do you miss the sunset then?
sometimes I miss my native land. There's something clean about being at sea. I mean, not the ship. The ships are filthy, and the people are horrible. Not you, but just people. But
Even people you like are horrible in a close quarters after enough time.
do you know? I've often studied your Greek arts, and there's a simplicity to some of it that I find very intriguing. The sea is like that. There's an absence of things. Only what's left is matter. The rest is negative space.
That's a very poetic way to put it.
Shall I tell you something important, Joe? Negative space is where the magic lies.
So the sea is a good place to learn it, I suppose.
And what do you see when you look into that emptiness, Joe? What stares back at you from it?
Nothing.
Are you sure?
Yeah, and I stare into the emptiness, and
It feels to me like you should be rolling plus beyond
sure.
right here.
Oh, I have to reopen that, don't I? Come on. There we go. Don't know what's wrong with my computer, but it's thinking about loading. Maybe. There we go.
Is that a... What is that? That's at least an 8, right?
I mean, it's a 4 on my screen, but they're still
Oh.
spinning. There we go, an 8.
Yeah, you got an 8.
Awesome. Cool. So that's
I
a...
don't think my beyond is. I think my beyond is 0, right?
Yep, that's a 7 and 9. Everybody's favorite result.
Yep.
Cool. The black albatross lands in front of you. But then something happens to your vision, and it's like an Escher drawing. Sometimes it looks like a black bird standing on the forecastle, and sometimes it looks like a twisted black humanoid croaking at you in some strange language.
Wonderful.
What wouldst thou give for thy power?
I don't know what to offer. I don't know. I'm open to suggestions.
Well, it shall simply be this. At some point, I'll take the power back and you will work my end through your own devices. That is all.
Fair.
And then the bird is gone. All you see is a sheet of seabirds rising up from the waves and flying into the sunset. And Chandra puts his arm on your shoulder and says, "Well done, Joe. Very good. Very good."
What do I do next? Am I supposed to know that?
When your will and your intent is aligned, you will know what to do.
Thank you.
So right about that point, you guys are stepping out onto the quarterdeck and watching those birds sail off into the sunset. And the crew of the Charity is happy that their captain is out. So up on the forecastle, people are dancing a merry jig. Sailors are singing and just passing time, walking up and down the decks. And you are gathered in a small cluster at the rear of the quarterdeck, drinking whiskey and probably looking somewhat uncomfortably at each other.
Yeah, I don't know how I should start my plan.
I think that Forbes, being from a very social family, tries to delve into conversation and say, "So, Captain, would you tell us, do you plan to continue your voyages, or does your recent turn in health demand a sabbatical?"
You're asking Captain Bradford?
Yes.
Well, if I were to do that, I'd need to find somebody to command the ship, or it's not fair to the crew that they should have their livelihood impacted by my own infirmity. So be that as it may, I think we'll continue hunting for a while before we return to Kalau, and at that point I'll decide with Emily's help, and I suppose the Almighty, what my course of action should be.
Well, with a rock like Mrs. Houston by your side, I'm sure you can power through anything.
Yes, at my side, yes. Emily is my rock. You have the right of it there, Mr. Greenwood.
Yes, you truly have found a treasure in her. I must say I am a bit jealous.
Well, you're yet a young man. I'm sure that you can find yourself some woman who will not be the gem that my Emily is, for she's a rare and true treasure, but will be your Emily.
A few feet away, I am sweet talking her.
But I wanted her to also be like hearing that too.
Oh yeah.
So it's this uncomfortable thing where it's like like the devil and the angel.
Yeah.
But you're married to lesbianism.
I actually almost want to hear some of this conversation then. So you and Emily, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the conversation starts because I like turn away from the group and I'm like looking out because I can see the Tethies from where we are. And Emily like turns to speak to me, and I'm standing. I move to stand like even closer to her and just say, "I never really thanked you."
Oh, for what?
For watching over me.
Well, I mean, you're just fortunate that there was a woman here to be able to care for you. I've sailed with male surgeons and their assistants, and most of them don't really know much about nursing someone. Understandably, I suppose. Captain, do you have any children?
And I turn my body a little more towards her and say, "No. Why do you ask?"
Oh. Well, I have 2 children. They're back at home. They're far too young to come to see.
Hmm.
I just had wondered if well,
No, the arms of men were never for me, my dear.
oh, well, there's a long tradition of heroic spinsters, I think.
I move a little bit closer and say, "Oh, I'm no spinster."
She blushes and starts waving her fan. I want to hear what James is doing, besides being shooketh.
James is actually waiting for an opening with Emily to ask her to take a turn with him. Let the captains continue their discussion. And if she's amenable.
Oh, yeah, I think actually she's like, yes, thank you for rescuing me from this uncomfortable conversation that is causing me to have feelings that I did not know were there. Yes, she happily will walk around the quarterdeck with you. Like,
Mrs. Bradford, I can only thank you for this, the invitation this evening, and tell that it has raised the spirits not only of Captain Goodwin but myself as well.
oh well, James, I can't. I'm so honored that you find our hospitality to be so recuperative.
Indeed, it is. Indeed, it is. You are a fine wife, and Captain Bradford seems to have recovered quite well.
Yes.
I'm a bit concerned that the Captain Goodwin is putting on a brave face, but I fear that she may need a soft, nurturing touch again tonight, just to ensure her continuing recovery. I don't know if you're familiar with ship surgeons, but our ship surgeon is good for mending a broken leg, but not for mending the spirits of someone as afflicted as the captain was, as your own Captain Bradford was.
Well, James, I feel like I can confide in you since you've shown yourself to be such an honorable man.
Indeed, indeed, what is said to my ears stay in my head.
I'm not completely convinced that Bradford is yet entirely out of the woods. There's some deep wound in him that my physic has not been able to reach.
What signs of this have you seen?
I think after 15 years of marriage, a woman can tell when her husband is not quite who he used to be.
He just seems slightly not Captain Bradford.
I mean, obviously, the experience must have left him drained and melancholy. And he's worried about the ship and our investors. And I mean, obviously, we have bills to pay, but if I could convince him to go home, I would, but I feel that that would be even worse in this situation. I honestly do not know what to do. And while Charlotte is such a lovely person and I would happily help you, I, I don't know if it's right for me to leave Bradford like this.
I shall I could speak to Captain Bradford for you. I think his recovery seems good. You know him far better than I do. And perhaps in that conversation I can also attempt to steer him towards a more speedy return to land as well.
Well,
may be able to spare you for one more night of your healing touch, as well as I think I should be able to turn him around for you.
interesting.
Returning home would be his best way to recover.
So I feel like you're manipulating someone, but you're kind of also offering to do a thing before you can actually do the manipulation. So it's almost like you decided to roll the 7 for 9 for me.
Yes.
Well, you know what? It's this is a game, not a box. So I think I'll just treat it as a 7 to 9. She looks extremely relieved and like, oh yes, James, if you would just go talk to him, which is cool because that's the point. You notice that the captain is not on the quarterdeck.
Captain Goodwin,
No.
Captain Bradford.
Yes, Captain Houston seems to have vanished.
I shall go talk to the captain. He seems to have perhaps gone in under deck. I'm not good with my ship terms.
Below decks.
Below decks. Brain.
I know, it's amazing. So much jargon.
I know. And I shall go below decks and see if I can find the captain.
Oh, fantastic.
And I will. Emily, please continue to talk with Captain Goodwin. I will find your captain.
Yeah, okie dokie. All right. So Captain Goodwin, did you notice Captain Houston leaving?
I think so. I mean, I think we were talking.
Yeah, but I mean, it could definitely have been one of those, you're just talking, then you turn to look out over the sea, and when you turn back, not there. If that's
That's
yeah.
also sort of fine with me because I have things to do.
All right, so yeah, he's just gone. You see James looking around. Emily comes walking back towards you. Forbes is, I don't know, what are you doing, Forbes? Being creepy? I mean,
I'm not creepy. I take personal offense to that. Did Forbes notice the captain disappearing?
well, now, Forbes.
I mean, I was directly engaging with him and laying it on very thick about how wonderful his wife was and how he should treasure her.
It seems to me that you have set yourself up in such a way that you are reading the situation, and it's possible that you have knowledge that others don't.
Perhaps. Let's find out.
Mm.
That
It
is
is in your wheelhouse.
It is a 7 with my stat. Otherwise, it would have been a 5. Oh my god. Okay, barely.
Cool. Well, you may ask me 2 questions.
What here is not what it seems?
The captain, Brad Houston, is not really as well as he appeared to be, would be your guess.
Mm-hmm. And let's see here. What is what's that? Let's see here. What is my best way in to like confronting the captain or whatever is inside the captain?
Captain Houston?
Mm-hmm.
You saw him. He apparently had managed to time it to a point where nobody was paying attention to him, and then he just kind of walks straight down and went below decks. And you just have a feeling that he's headed for the hold.
Yeah. So I think I followed.
Oh, yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That can't possibly go wrong.
Not
Okay.
at all.
Okay, great. Joe, what's up with you? Have you been watching any of this bizarre behavior on the part of these so-called adults?
Yeah, if I saw the captain leave, especially if I saw the captain leave and Forbes follow him, I'm also going to follow him.
Excellent. Are you trying to be sneaky about this?
Yes.
So it sounds like it's time to
Last
use.
time I wasn't sneaky. That went very badly.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, the thing about never being found is it's a kind of weird move, right?
It is.
It seems more designed to like handle you doing stuff off screen, right? So
Yeah.
I think just acting under pressure will be the thing to do here.
Okay. Okay, let's see. That's a 5 on the dice. I'm waiting for it to load. See what I think. I might have a 7 there, or I might have a 6. I
believe
think
you
balance
rolled
is my strong.
Yep.
Yes, 7.
Cool. Okay. Let me think. Where's chapter my ugly change? Sure. You have your choice when you run down below decks, because you're able to just duck down through the scuttle near the forecastle. But by that point, the captain and Forbes were separated. So your choice. You can find Forbes or you can find the captain.
That's actually a good choice. Or that's a hard choice. Something is weird on this ship, and it probably has to do with the captain, but also, like I said, last time I did this, it ended very badly, and I am kind of concerned about about Forbes, whose sneaking ability, as far as I could tell, is not super. Like I don't want him to get caught, and I don't know what this captain does to people sneaking around. So I'm gonna go find Forbes.
Cool. All right, so Forbes, you're following the captain down, and suddenly you come across Joe, who has that knack of suddenly appearing where not expected.
And like I was sneaking, so like I kind of like jump, and I'm like, what are you doing here?
Same as you, I think. Following the captain.
Following the captain. Yes. Hopefully there are no more unpleasant discoveries. But I seem to have lost him.
Can't be. There's only so many places he could go, right?
I don't know. Should we try to double back to the captain's quarters? Do you think we should go deeper into the ship? I am truly at a loss here.
Well, if he went that way, nobody will be in his quarters.
I think Forbes is going to try to sense what is beyond. He's going to try to tap into. He's just needs to know. So, and it's a 6. Yeah. He pulled a black feather out of his like coat pocket, and he tried to like toss it in the air and see which way it floated, as like an old superstition kind of thing. Maybe said some ugly things in Aklo, but who knows?
Cool. How do I want to do this? I think you hear Emily scream.
Well, it's time to run in that direction.
Cool. So, James, you were going down below decks too, right?
Yep, I was heading down after I, suspected the captain went down there.
So, okay, you get down, but you have no idea where the captain went. What do you want to do?
I'm going to close my eyes and think like the captain and just try to sense where I think he went. So this would be a sense what's beyond roll for me. Just kind of feel maybe I can the yellow dice. +2.
Are you +2
7.
for beyond?
Yeah.
I thought your beyond is 0.
No, the old Sea Dog by default is +2 for beyond.
Ah,
The
that's right.
0 on the sheet, did I not?
Yeah, it's 0 on the sheet.
Dumb.
That's all right.
That's probably Scott's fault. I would blame James for that.
Oh, that's totally fair. So you got a 7, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. So on a 7. Cool. You definitely hear something from moving around in the hold.
I'm going to head to the hold in that case. I have not heard the scream that occurred in the prior scene.
No, strangely enough, no. So cool. But you got a 7, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. So that's why when you step into the hold, you don't see whoever swings the axe at your back.
Right.
I'll just cut up to the quarterdeck. So you're talking with Emily, Captain, and I assume continuing your assault upon the island of Lesbos. When suddenly Forbes and Joe come running up and dash onto the quarterdeck, the holy quarterdeck, where no crewman should ever be.
Cool. I turn around and I don't respond with outrage because I know that there's probably a reason. I'm just like, what's going on?
And then I quickly look around and I realize that Emily does not look like she is in danger. So I say, begging your pardon, Captain. We thought we heard a disturbance. But it seems to not have been the case.
That's all right. Is everything okay?
Well, you see, Captain, I believe that Captain Houston has taken a sudden turn. I saw him go below deck without saying his goodbyes, and I assumed that something must be wrong.
Well, then perhaps we should go look in on him.
I think Emily just grabs your arm without even thinking about it. Like, oh no.
And then I see that and I say, Mrs. Houston, do you know where your husband might have gone?
I would have assumed into the great cabin to maybe update the charts. I don't know. Liam should have done that, but Bradford, it helps him to keep busy.
Well, I don't mean to impede upon your evening, but I do believe that we should check on the captain, and unfortunately, Joe and I, it would be most improper.
Oh, of course. Should we go, Charlotte?
Yes, I think that we should.
All right, very well. Okay, so as you start to descend, we'll do a quick cut down into the hold. Yeah, James, I'm afraid I must ask you to take 2 harm right now.
Boom.
Yeah. You just stumble forward into the several inches of water that always collects in the bilge. So it's it's really lovely water. It's just, it's awesome.
And I will reach for my small, what's my equipment? Let's say a hatchet. That's kind of weird. I reach for my hatchet and turn around. Is it dark?
Oh yes, very dark. The lantern that was supposed to be lit has been blown out.
I will scream, "Who is there? You are attacking a friend."
Cool. I would invite you to please roll to act under pressure as the axe comes whistling at your head again.
Right?
I got a balance. I got a 13.
Oh wow. All right, so you nimbly leap to the side and hear the axe solidly connect with the wood. But whoever has it grunts and pulls it free. And now you're like just both sitting in the quiet in the dark, not quite knowing where each the other one is.
I'll remain low and silent as I let's see. I'll try to creep forward and then swing my hatchet after creeping forward a few steps, hoping to connect with a leg or a foot or.
So that sounds like acting under pressure first, and if that succeeds, then we can move on to the act with force phase of the evening's entertainment.
Yeah. An 8.
Cool. Cool. Why don't you let me look at something real quick. Why don't we do this? You may act with force, but you may not choose suffer little harm.
Okay.
All right.
That's a hard choice I'll take.
All right. Then I invite you to roll that. Your -1 brawn will, of course, not harm you.
How could that possibly be a problem?
Yeah, well, it won't harm you at all.
No, not a 5 is exactly the number I was looking for.
Okay. So in lieu of harm, I think you did get a 7 on that act with pressure. So as you were setting up the chop with your hatchet, the guy just kind of bull rushed you, knocked you down, and then swung. But fortunately, you caught it on the flat. But you hear a sickening crunch in your left arm, and you're pretty sure you've broken your ulnar or your radius, whichever one that is. I can't remember. Needless to say, you're in a shocking amount of pain right now.
And I will scream loudly from this pain. It's been a while since I've broken a bone, and you never get used to it.
Fantastic. Captain Goodwin, you hear someone screaming from below. As a matter of fact, Forbes and Joe, you also hear someone screaming from below. They're screaming really loud.
Yeah.
It's only someone with the kind of lungs that can be heard to the very top of the topmast in the middle of a storm can scream.
Keep screaming on the ship.
I go running towards the sound of. I recognize James's voice.
Okay, cool. So you're just gonna bull in there with?
Oh, hell yeah!
Okay, that's fantastic. So that's cool. So you outpace Emily, of course.
Yeah.
And you come in to the hold, and it's dark, but you hear this methodical thump, thump, thump of an axe hitting wood.
Great. So
There is a lantern. It's been blown out, but it's right next to the. It's
I like
right.
it.
Oh, good. So as you put the match to the lantern, you hear Captain Houston say, "I'd be very careful with that match right now, Captain Goodwin."
I like touch it to the wick inside the lantern and close it. And what do I see? Is he hacking away at the inside of the ship?
No, not on the inside of the ship. That would be madness. You'd all drown. No. He is hacking with the axe and opening up the casks of oil, and oil is flooding through the bilge. And if you had dropped that match, you would have burned everybody to a crisp.
That would be a shame.
I say, can I ask what you're about, friend?
He kind of leans on his axe like he's taking a break from a hard day's labor.
Can I see James?
Huh?
Can I see James? Is he?
Oh yeah. He's standing. He's crouched over in the bilge, covered with oil.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
I'm on the floor. My arm is bent the wrong direction.
Like, Charlotte, I think we both know what I'm about.
Can I have my first mate, please?
Well, I don't know. Has he not been marked out too?
He has not.
And who told you that?
I say, well, you did.
That almost certainly wasn't me.
Like you.
So you saw me when you were raving?
I did.
How fortunate. I don't really consider my face much to look at in a mirror, but that was a sight better than what I saw.
If you don't mind, I'll be taking my crew and taking our leave.
But Captain, I'm only the acolyte. You have to be the priest.
Well, then at the very least, I'll get them off the boat, and then you and I can talk.
He's clearly torn. He's trying hard to say something, but he's having difficulty doing it.
I'll send your wife with them.
I think the only thing he's capable of is a single tear rolls down his cheek. And then he says, but no one else.
No one else.
He sits down on a barrel.
I'll be back.
I'd smoke, but...
I haul James to his feet, and as I'm like dragging him out of the bilge, I say, you have to get every one of our men off this ship and his wife. I'm staying here.
How will you get off? He's a madman. This ship will be burning tonight.
I'm a good swimmer, and if it is God's will that I live, then I will live.
It's less God than I fear than the sea, but you know what you're doing.
Let's just hope I do, okay?
I will get our crew. I will get Emily. I will get them to safety.
Excellent.
And I'll gather everyone. If there's anyone you care about on this ship, grab them now.
No.
Bring them with us. No, I was talking to Joe and
Oh yeah.
And Forbes.
The only person that can go of the crew is Emily. Everything will be fine. Get on the boat.
And we get on the boat, I assume.
Well, I think we probably need to zoom in on that a little bit.
We try to.
Because a number of things will happen. But first, you come dashing up. Ouch, 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 ouch. Onto the deck. So Joe and Forbes, are you still up there, or what's going on?
I think we were running toward the scream and probably meet him on the way out.
Yeah. So
Oh,
he's covered
I mean-
in whale oil and his arm is broken.
So I was actually holding Emily back and keeping her away.
Okay. In that
I've
case,
got kind of a tight grip on her because I have a feeling I might need some leverage.
Yeah, she's definitely struggling. Cool. So yeah, so Joe, you run into the first maid in this horrible condition.
Mr. Phyfe, what happened to you? Are you?
I had a bad accident. We must leave now. The captains would like Emily to go with us to the Tethys.
I will do no such thing, Joseph Phyfe. Sorry, James Phyfe.
You will do what your husband has told us.
My husband is clearly out of his wits.
I walk up to Emily and I put my hands on her shoulders and I say, Emily, it is imperative that you go with my men.
I'm not leaving without my husband. What kind of a wife would I be? This is madness.
What if I told you that it was the wish of your husband that you be as safe as possible for what we are about to attempt?
Charlotte Goodwin, you know that my husband is not in his right mind. We need to rescue him, not allow him to play out his bizarre fantasies.
Emily, believe me when I say that this wish of his is the only thing that he has said that has been in his right mind.
You're going to need to manipulate her here.
Yeah, totes. Manipulate is plus what? Plus beauty. Well, I rolled a 10.
So it's a 9.
Yeah. They change the terms to suit themselves or demand concrete assurance first. Oh, God.
I'll go when I can see my husband.
All right. All of you make the boat ready. Come with me.
Cool. So up on the deck, you guys are running over to the boat, which was winched up because they were kind enough to winch it up into the davits. And Chandra comes strolling over to you, Joe, and it's like, my friend, you're in such a hurry to leave, and looks at James and just cocks his head to one side.
Mr. Phyfe is hurt.
Yes,
I think
clearly.
You should come with us.
What?
You should come with us. Trust me.
Joe, that was not. Do not ignore the captain's orders.
I don't think I don't think she gave us the direct order that it should only be. She told James that, but
Oh, and he didn't tell us. Okay.
just told us to leave.
He has his chance.
The captain made her wishes known. I'm not in a state to stop you, however. I'm barely holding it together as is. I need to see the surgeon as quickly as possible. The captain made her intentions known. Mr. Forbes is correct in his assessment. What risks you take on your own.
Joe, I know that you have not learned the ways of magic just yet, but they cannot be contravened. When something is demanded, it must be given.
Okay. I won't tell. I'll turn to Chandra and say, you should leave. Not with us, but you should leave. And that's all I can say. I'm not like that's all. Hopefully, I'll do what he means or whatever he's going to do with that information. But yeah, and like the boat ready and wait for to see if our captain comes back or if or brings I cannot. Her name just does not stick in my head. Sorry.
Emily.
Emily. Yes. Such a simple name, and yet, yeah. Or if Emily comes back on her own, or what. But we're just waiting for Emily, I think.
Cool. Chandra looks at you and is like, Joe, there may be work here for me to do. Perhaps you should stay.
What good could I do?
I assume you saw something in the empty spaces.
Yeah, I saw something, all right.
Well, then I think you could help. But you must follow your own will and intent.
Well, tell me what I need to do.
Cool. So, Captain Goodwin, you're dragging Emily down below decks?
I don't think I have to drag her because she wants to go see her husband. So I take her with me. I leave the lantern up top.
Why are we going all the way to the hold?
Because that's where her husband is.
Well, okay. So you're not taking the lantern down there?
No.
So she won't be able to see anything.
Yeah, but boom.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, so she comes down, she sniffs like, why is there the casks have sprung a leak?
They have. Captain.
Right.
Your wife would not leave the boat unless she saw you.
Well, you know that's not really possible right now, Charlotte.
I'm getting her as close as I can.
I think Emily kind of quickly assesses what's going on. But what would she do?
I don't know.
I'll make it easy. She goes into shock.
Great.
She just sort of passes out into your arms.
And then I say to the captain, I'm going to get her on the boat. And I carry her back up.
Fantastic. All right. Oblivious to Joe and Chandra having their talk, you gently lower her into the boat. James is already there. The rest of your boat crew is there.
Get back to the Tethies.
So, Joe, this is your moment to decide. Are you staying?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's
So
the opposite of diving into the water, right?
Yep. So the davits lower down, and the boat hits the water hard, and immediately Forbes almost loses his oar, but catches it in time.
Is Joe playing least in sight, or is he like...
Well, yeah, Joe's got that move, so I just figure that's up to Joe whether or not you notice, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think you see Joe. Like you might notice that he's not on the boat, but I don't think you see him like standing on the deck or anything.
Gotcha. All right, I go back down to the captain.
Cool. He's just kind of sitting there in the dark. I really would have liked a cigar before the end.
Well, she pulls one out of her pack and says, "Got to burn the bad boy down somehow." And like lights it and puffs it and hands it to him.
He takes a long drag on it. Havana, you have excellent taste, Charlotte.
That is true.
What do you think you're buying tonight, by the way?
We can't buy things from gods.
Well, I think they asked you to pay for something, didn't they? So perhaps it's just a semantic difference at this point.
I want to know my destiny.
Do you really? I mean, they showed me my destiny, which was to burn alive in my own ship.
I think that it's all I've wanted to know my entire life.
And if your destiny is bad, will you not try to escape it?
No. Humans are just waves, friend. The ocean is endless.
Everyone says that. But then, then the moment comes and you ask yourself, what's the price? I'll tell you something, Charlotte, now that we're intimate. I believe now that we can talk, as few human beings have ever talked. Just so you know, Emily was part of their price. And then he just drops the cigar.
Oh my god. Running now.
Running would be good. Why don't you give me a acting under pressure roll here?
8. It's plus
Balance, so you're +2.
Okay, so I roll a 10.
Awesome. So you get on the deck. Joe, there's a horrendous whoomp from down below, and immediately you start smelling the smoke pouring up out of the scuttles. Everybody just sort of drops what they're doing and freaks the fuck out.
I kind of look at Chandra and like, okay, now would be a really good time to know what to do.
Save those who we can. So this is the magic move. Roll plus balance. On a 10 plus, you get to hold 3. On a 7 through 9, you'll hold 1. Spend your hold 1 for 1 to act as if you just rolled a 10 on something. Okay. You're a magic man now, Joe.
That's a 6.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. Cool. So, tell me what you're doing. Everybody is sort of trying to run around. They don't know whether or not they should get the pumps running. Of course, some people try and spray the pumps down into the hold, and then they discover why you never use water on an oil fire. So things are really rapidly going from bad to worse. The fire is literally racing up the mast.
Yeah, I think I think this ship is like, give up on this stupid ship and just try to get as many people into the boats as possible.
Okay, fantastic. Cool. So Charlotte, what are you doing as this is all going on?
I think, does Charlotte see Joe?
Again, I'm going to leave that up to Joe.
Yeah, Joe, do you want me to notice that you're still here or not? You can do your own thing.
I'm not trying to hide.
Yeah.
I'm not, you're my captain. I have no idea that you're in this, so I'm not trying to hide from you. If I see you, I'm like, get in the, I try to convince you to like go get in a boat right now.
I think I run up to you and I grab you by the arm and say, there's no way those boats are safe. Come with me. And I grab you and I haul you off toward the side of the boat where the Tethys is and say, we're gonna have to swim.
Why aren't the...
Ask me questions when we're on the boat.
Okay, and I like yell back at people. Forget the boats, just swim.
Don't warn them. Let's go.
So, let's do a quick cut back to Forbes, since there's a question asked. Sorry it took so long to see that. Yeah, I think you probably noticed about halfway across the water that Joe is not there. I mean, everybody was busy so you didn't have a chance. But as the fire suddenly erupts from the deck of the Tethys, you realize that he's not there.
Yeah, and I'm like kind of like flailing around, like trying to figure out if he's in like another boat or something like that. And then I turn around and I realize that he must be back on that ship. And I stand up and I look back at the ship and I shout at James. I'm just like, no, you're not going anywhere actually, because Forbes stands up and he shouts to you, it's like, I'm sorry, I have to go back. And he transforms into his creature form, which we have not seen yet. We've only seen hints of it. And so what happens is like these little black tendrils start to like jut out of his skin, and then just all of a sudden like black feathers like force their way out of his skin, and his body gets like longer, and he turns into this like Birdman thing. And you can see I put like a picture in the character keeper at the bottom of kind of like what it is, but it's basically kind of like the Birdman from Howl's Moving Castle. And like these huge black wings like sprout from his back. And so yeah, this triggers actually a couple of moves actually for me. First of all, it triggers This Is Who I Am, which is when you reveal your true form to overcome danger or surprise an enemy, roll plus balance. We're going to see how this goes. And that was a 4.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
And the other thing, are you calling?
I'm doing that too. So
you're calling the others like you?
Yeah, and then just beg them. It's like, please help me save them. And that's the thing that I want. And that is a 6. The two things that I am not good at. So yeah.
Cool. This is all gonna come to a head quite nicely. All right. So Joe, you did jump into the water with the captain, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, good. I can
at least try to save her.
So you're swimming and bobbing, and the captain is, much stronger swimmer than you, even though, you've got all that lifeguard training. She's just really good at swimming. So as you're bobbing, you lose sight of her in a wave, and then as you come up on top of the crest of the wave, there's a white albatross just sitting on the water. It cocks its head at you, and the next thing you know, there's this beautiful woman just standing on top of the water, dressed in all white.
Yeah, I think I kind of, raise my face up enough to say, hello? Hi.
She just reaches fingers under your chin and says, don't you think you should come with me?
I don't know what to think. Everybody has different things that they want me to do right now, and all of them are terrible.
Well, I always find that when there's too much trouble, I just like to fly away from it. Would you like to come?
No.
You'll drown.
Maybe so.
You'll not see Forbes ever again.
I wouldn't anyway, right?
Yeah. Forbes belongs to us. Come with me and be with him.
I think at this point, so many people have told Joe so many different things that all seemed like truly awful ideas that I don't think I trust anybody right now. And I think I just keep swimming.
Fantastic. Forbes, as you leap into the air with your wings spread out, that scarf of seabirds suddenly surrounds you. In the middle is the black albatross, now in its avian anthrope form. Thank you. That's a good word. and it just wraps you up in its arms.
And I'm like scratching at it and like clawing at it and trying to push it away. And like,
shh, brother, shh. Stop fighting it. The world of men is not for you anymore. We've come to take you from all that.
Fine, take me if you must, but help them first. That's the only thing I ask.
The hell with humans. What have they ever given you? Not a place. None of them ever loved you.
Well, then don't do it for the humans. Do it as a gesture of good faith for me.
A king who claims his own subject does not require to return favor for favor. So as part of the 6, because 6 is kind of awesome and can do lots of fun stuff, you do see Joe bobbing slow up and down on the waves, and kind of going down and then not coming back up as quickly anymore.
I'm gonna try one last thing. I'm gonna do it with my -1 stat. I'm gonna try to act with force to break away and see if I can do this. Please, dice, please. It's a 5. It's a 4.
Just how invested are you in not having a spectacular flame out ending here? Or can I bring it?
Go for it. Yeah, he's trying his best, and it's like all green ones. It's just not enough.
Okay, so you struggle with the black albatross, and finally he just snaps his beak in frustration and rips off one of your wings. And into the waves you plummet. So as you go underwater and Joe slips under the waves and Charlotte, I don't know if you slip under the waves or if you just freaking dive, you maniac, you magnificent maniac bastard, you.
For sure, diving.
Guess who you see down beneath the waves? Our old friend, the Noteback.
Oh, the Noteback whale.
Which, is eerie in its luminescent beauty in the deep shadows of the waters. Its fringes hanging and in a glorious array all around it, its spikes gleaming. And it just looks at you, its eyes, and when I say eyes, I mean there's a lot of them, just boring into you. And it just sort of blinks, snaps its jaw, and flicks its tail, turning away from you. Just out of curiosity, Joe and Forbes, what do you guys do?
Are we also seeing the vision of the
Oh
Noteback?
yeah. It ain't a vision.
No?
It's there. It's there.
Actually, well, panic, but if I see Forbes, like, try to grab for him and try to swim for the surface.
Why, I do believe you're testing if your love is true.
Damn. The last desperate act.
I mean, you're not a beautiful man, but you can give it a shot.
9.
Well, a 9 is not bad. Take +2 on your next roll, and I will. Yeah. We'll figure that out in a sec. But it would for sure be actually it would be acting with force here, because you're definitely trying to take hold of the situation. But
yeah.
Take your +2 on that. So
Okay. It's 6 + 2, so that is a 7.
well, 7. You get to choose 2. I really gotta get my focus.
Oh, actually, I need the regular move sheet, don't I? Haven't made a lot of those.
You choose two of you take definite hold of it or the situation. You suffer little harm. You inflict terrible harm. You impress, dismay, or frighten the enemy.
Oh, I mean, I take definite hold.
And probably little harm, right?
Oh, I choose two.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that case,
I
yes.
think it's two. Yep.
Okay.
Cool.
Yep.
So you come bobbing back up to the water in an unbelievable turn of events. Of course, Forbes is bleeding all over the place, this dark, oily blood, but you're there.
Yeah.
As Charlotte, you pop back up over the waves. And the thing is Mr. Fife's boat is not far from you. Though you might want to do something about that, Mr. Fife, because the oil is spreading away from the ship, and it will catch fire and burn everything in the water.
Yeah. I mean, I try and catch up to them. But I'm also down with just totally swimming to the ship.
Getting to the boat, you're such a strong swimmer, I think you can just do without a roll. Going to the ship would be more complicated.
I'm down with going to the ship and having to roll for it. It's great.
That's fantastic. Okay. Why don't you Yeah, though, just for fun,
Mm-hmm.
you want to roll that with brawn instead of balance?
Sure. What do I have for brawn? 0. Okay. Just for funsies.
You're a thinking pirate.
I'm a thinking pirate. I'm a thinking and bravery pirate.
Yeah.
Cool.
7?
Yeah.
7 is good. 7 is good. 7 is very good. So, that's cool. So how are you maimed in the way that will remind you of this horrible night for all the rest of your life?
I think that I think some of the oil catches me.
Oh dear.
Right? But like I'm swimming and so like it burns fast and hot. And so I have like a burn scar. Like I have a bad burn along my like left arm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mr. Phyfe, picking up Forbes and Joe is most assuredly acting under pressure.
All right. I rolled a 12, so.
The sea holds no terrors for you, James Fife.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm picturing with one arm, you're like grabbing an oar, running it out to those two so that they can get in, having your oarsmen pull them all in at once.
Grit through the pain and pull them up with my broken arm.
Which is wow.
And then you row.
It's bending even further outward as I do so, but
then everybody rows for their life, and you just managed to get to the Tethys as it gets underway. Bill is, having a quiet heart attack on board as he tries to get the sail set. As you sail away and pass the Jezebel has lit red lanterns and hung them on all its masts. It has torches going on the deck, and they're firing off red glowing signal rockets at the burning wreck of the Charity. And in the red and black silhouettes, you can see people dancing on the decks. And as you pass by, you just see Captain Dixon waving at you, Captain. It's like, bon chance, my friend. You're really in their hands now. And with that, I think the Tethys sails away with more maimed crew. And we'll do a new chapter of this in a couple weeks. Not next week, because next week I'm going to watch Germans scream at each other for several hours. Yeah, it's that point in my opera career life where I must go and watch a ring cycle in a single week, because That makes sense.
Have fun with that.
If anybody wants to do a quick last scene epilogue, I invite you to do it now. It seems like we should get a little bit of closure, maybe, but
As we start sailing away, we're pulling ourselves up. I looked to the captain and said, "Well, that dinner went about as good as I expected."
I think I'm like half dragging, half carrying Forbes, who's, like still bleeding from one missing wing, down to the surgery. And I don't know if the surgeon has any idea what to do about a missing wing, but let's hope we can figure it out.
Yeah.
I think I'm not particularly phased about like Forbes being a bird. Like, yeah, okay, yep, of course.
Didn't see it coming, but now that it's happened, okay.
And Forbes actually, I think that like the scene before like whatever epilogue he has is actually on like the operating table. He like turns back into a person, and he's now just missing his left arm.
I didn't want to be the one that did that to you, but that works for me.
Yeah, no, that's totally what it was. Yeah. And then I guess because since I'm not going to be back for the next session, it makes sense for like me to have disappeared somehow. And I think that if it's okay with everybody, like a couple of days later, like there's a point where like you just find like a ball of feathers on the deck, like, and you see like Forbes's coat floating in the water, like after hearing like a splash and a call of man overboard. And we'll just leave it ambiguous as to what happened there.
Cap?
So this is horrible, but I think the last thing that we see of the captain is the door closing to her quarters and like a knife held in her dripping wet right hand and like the look of fear on Emily's face.
Oh,
That is horrible.
You're just gonna leave that for me for 2 weeks, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. I think the capper is that when she screams, that's the scream that Forbes and Joe heard. Time. Okay. I've dropped a little linky in the other chat room. This was fun, guys. Thank you so much.
It was great.
And two of you I will see once again on the Tethies as finally approaches its, oh my god, what are we doing? Destination. And we'll see what we do from there. All right. Thank you guys all so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.